Hi, Alex Polyak here. Donald Trump is a controversial billionaire whose name can be seen on luxury buildings around the world, as well as the 45th and 47th President of the United States. Simply put, he is a man who almost everyone knows today, and interestingly, Trump has even infiltrated GTA games, starting from the very first game in the series. In this video, we will analyze various references and even find out how Rockstar was able to predict the future. Let's get started. It all started with the cover of the first GTA game, released in 1997. There, right in the center behind the game's logo, you can see the famous Trump Tower, which later physically appeared in GTA 3. Liberty City Stories, GTA 4, episodes from Liberty City and Chinatown Wars. Of course, all this is not a direct reference, but this is one of the most recognizable buildings of Donald Trump, built in New York in 1983, and the image of which, as we can see, was used in many GTA games. If you are wondering what this place looks like in GTA Advance, I checked it and did not notice any signs of the famous tower. Rockstar started making direct analogies with Trump's personality in GTA 3 and supplementing this in subsequent games in the series. Of course, I mean the character of Donald Love, who was obviously based on Trump, which Rockstar Games reported in its document at the E3 exhibition even before the release of GTA 3. By the way, here you can notice an interesting detail. The character, according to the document, is a necrophile, not a cannibal. But we will not dwell on this now, but we will definitely return to the topic of cannibalism a little later because there is something remarkable there. Of course, we cannot ignore the presence of the same name, Donald. But this is on the surface of our comparison, so we continue the analysis. Speaking about appearance, it is worth paying attention to the similarity of the general image, as well as hairstyles and especially blue eyes and lips, which are very similar in comparison between Love and Trump. It is also interesting that even the game character's clothes have a detail that refers to Trump. This is a tie that stands out for its frivolity, and this corresponds to the real Donald, who at some point in his life preferred non-standard ties. It is also worth noting that Love is wearing a business suit, which is also typical of Trump's clothing style. One of the GTA 3 promotional websites has an article dedicated to Love. It talks about investing in the city, buying up buildings in Liberty City, opening a casino, building, and also generally presents the image of a goal-oriented billionaire, a stereotypical American capitalist. All this strongly resembles Trump, whose main activity is the construction of buildings and the purchase of various objects, including casinos. His activities are especially strongly associated with New York, the city that became the prototype for the in-game Liberty City. In the GTA games, the main characters have to repeatedly help Love in matters related to real estate, and for this they had to apply their experience in criminal life. Speaking of crime, in GTA Donald is directly connected to the Mafia, as we can see in Liberty City Stories. And if you learn the information about Trump, you can find references to the fact that he also had close ties to organized crime, in particular with some influential people from the Italian-American Mafia. And although this can certainly be said about other major American businessmen and politicians, still such a detail from Trump's life successfully combines with the relationship of Mr. Love and the Leone crime family. Let's talk about Donald's political activities. In 2000, Trump ran for president, and Love ran for mayor of Liberty City in 1998, but they both failed to get the post they were applying for, albeit for different reasons. But Trump became president much later, in 2017, and will become president again in 2025. Interestingly, thanks to this, we can even assume that at this time in the GTA world, Love could also become president or mayor. But let's get back to the failed political struggle in Liberty City Stories. There, in one of the missions, Love is assassinated for political reasons, and the main character Tony acts as a bodyguard and saves Donald from death. And yes, I understand perfectly well that this is just a curious coincidence, but this does not prevent us from saying that Rockstar seemed to have predicted the future, because almost 20 years after the release of this game, in July 2024, an assassination attempt was made on Trump during his election campaign, and he also definitely manages to escape. And perhaps you will be even more surprised if you learn that, with a big stretch, GTA supposedly predicted even that Trump is related to cannibalism. Of course, I do not mean that he is a lover of human flesh like Donald Love, but I found information that his very distant ancestors from Europe, according to some researchers, could have been real cannibals. This topic was written about in some news publications, and if we talk very briefly, then the researchers studied the history of a cruel cannibal of medieval times who had an accomplice wife with the last name Trump. All this is not the only basis for the theory, and if you want, you can read about it yourself. And although this seems like a far-fetched and possibly even fake story, the fact of trying to connect Trump and cannibalism looks very ironic, while in GTA LCS we were clearly shown Love's cannibalistic tendencies. Okay, let's get back to more serious analogies created by Rockstar's writers and designers. In Liberty City Stories, which is set in 1998, Love at some point goes bankrupt. It is noteworthy that Trump has also been bankrupt multiple times, including in the 90s. But he managed to use loopholes in the laws so that it was not he who was declared bankrupt, but the organizations associated with him. Love, in turn, also used cunning, as well as Tony Cipriani's criminal experience, to get out of bankruptcy and become a wealthy person again. Returning to the topic of politics, it must be said that Love is definitely not a Democrat, unlike his rival O'Donovan. It can be assumed that Love is a Republican supporter, although I do not remember any direct mention of this.
The liberals would have a field day, of course, but how little they know of life's real pleasures. Sophistication and democracy have always been such uneasy bedfellows. We need to have their faith in democracy shaken, if you understand me. Now, I'm no Democrat, but even I draw the line at vote rigging.
Trump, in turn, has repeatedly changed his party affiliation, but if you look at his political path as a whole, you can see that the Republican side is closer to him. It was this party that he initially joined in 1987 and also ran for president from this party in 2016 and 2024. To be more objective, I must say that in this case, the analogy between the real Donald and his character is very ambiguous, but to some extent this comparison is acceptable. Trump's key company is the Trump Organization, which includes a huge number of other organizations and whose headquarters are located in the same tower that we touched on at the beginning of the video. In the GTA world, Love also has his own corporation called Love Media. Note that both in real life and in the game, the name of the organization reflects the last name of its owner. By the way, Love Media also includes a lot of different assets, more details about which can be found on the radio in GTA 3.
This is Head Radio, a Love Media station. Just one of 900 radio stations, 300 TV stations, 4 networks, 3 satellites, 10 senators.
Thank you.
Head Radio.
It's funny that 20 years after the release of the game in which Love Media is presented, an organization called Trump Media was registered in reality. Rockstar once again seemed to predict the future. In 1998, Donald Love owned perhaps the most luxurious estate in the suburbs of Liberty City. And this reminds us of the fact that in 1996, Trump acquired a luxurious estate in the suburbs of New York. In the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, several laudatory books about Trump were published, authored by Donald himself and some other people. The Art of the Deal, Surviving at the Top, The Art of the Comeback. From these titles and covers, it is not difficult to grasp the general message of these books, exalting Trump. Something similar can be seen in Liberty City Stories, where the film The Liberty King is advertised on the streets with Donald Love himself on the poster. By the way, the covers of this film can also be found in GTA 4 and GTA 5. And in these GTA games, there are newspapers with the image of the billionaire and the inscription, "Love's hate relationship with taxes." Such newspapers are often associated with GTA 4 by players, but few people know that this thing originally appeared in Liberty City Stories. You can find out about this on the official website of the game, where the essence of the newspaper's headline is also revealed. It says that Love used his influence to avoid taxes in Liberty City. And all this is very reminiscent of Trump, who is known for manipulations in order to get rid of taxes in the USA. Donald Love is certainly the biggest reference to Trump in the GTA world, but in many ways this relates to the 3D universe. And although the HD universe also contains references to Love, there is another parody associated with the famous billionaire. This is the Cleethorpes family, a very rich dynasty whose representatives are hungry for greater greatness. Young Lyle Cleethorpes V is the one who built the Trump Tower in Liberty City, but of course, he named the building after himself. This can be found on one of the websites in GTA 4. Also, players have noticed that Lyle is one of 5 children in the family, which corresponds to the number of children Trump has. Otherwise, the Cleethorpes are a collective image of stereotypical billionaires, greedy and spoiled. So let's move on. Trump is a significant person for New York because he was involved in the construction and reconstruction of many buildings, including iconic ones for this city. Some of these buildings were recreated in GTA, especially in GTA 4, and accordingly, in episodes from Liberty City and Chinatown Wars. It is important to remember that in the HD universe, Liberty City strongly resembles its real-life prototype. I found several such buildings, and now I suggest you look at them. Of course, we should start with Trump Tower, which was depicted in GTA more often than other Trump objects. But as you may have guessed, this is not such a single example. In the south of Manhattan, among the skyscrapers, there is the famous building number 40 on Wall Street called the Trump Building. But this loud name does not mean that Trump owns the building. Rather, since 1995, he has owned the right to lease this place. In GTA 4, it can be found in a similar area in the south of Algonquin. Some details differ from the original, but the general style and image are easy to recognize. The next building is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. Donald reconstructed this place in the 90s and subsequently began to own service areas here, such as a restaurant, kitchens for hotel rooms, garages, and more. In GTA 4, this object is located on the southwest corner of Middle Park, which once again perfectly repeats the location of the Trump building in New York. And now I will tell you one unusual thing. In New York, as you know, the headquarters of the United Nations is located. Across the street from this place is the Trump World Tower, which the billionaire built by 2001. Trump does not seem to own this building directly, but his name is still there. If we visit a similar place in GTA 4, where there is a parody of the UN headquarters, then across the street we will see the Africa Tower. This building is copied from the real Uganda House, which is also located in this area in New York, but there it is hidden in the courtyards and never had the word tower in its name. I do not claim, but I admit the idea that the developers merged the real building of the African country and the Trump Tower, so they got a hybrid in the form of Africa Tower. And perhaps this is some kind of joke about Donald Trump. We just looked at those buildings from the game that were still associated with Trump when Grand Theft Auto 4 was released. Now let's talk about those buildings that were no longer associated with this billionaire by the release of Grand Theft Auto 4. In New York, there is a Hyatt Grand Central Hotel, the building of which was partially owned by Trump from the late 70s to 96. Trump also remodeled the place, which is how it looks in GTA 4. You can find this hotel near the train station, just like in New York. To the south of Central Park is the famous Plaza Hotel, which was owned by Trump from 1988 to 1995. And I hope you remember this moment from the movie Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. Anyway, in Liberty City in the HD universe, you can also find this hotel to the south of Middle Park. When I got to one of the main buildings in New York, the Empire State Building, in this little research, I came across an interesting story that I think can explain the relationship between Love and the old Asian in GTA 3. In the 90s, Trump was in close contact with Hideki Yokoi, an influential Japanese man associated with organized crime. He and Donald had a common interest because they both wanted to own the main landmark of New York, the Empire State Building. Now let's look at the details. Hideki Yokoi was over 80 years old at that time, so he was quite old. It was at that time that he went to prison, although it happened in Japan, not in the USA. Trump had a connection with him on a very big case. They also had a friendly and respectful relationship. For example, Yokoi threw a gala party in Trump's honor, and Donald, in turn, spoke warmly of Hideki. Personally, I get the feeling that this story is partially referenced by the story of Love and the Asian old man in GTA 3. These characters also have mutual respect, have a common serious business, and besides, the old man is arrested at some point. And here's another interesting point. Remember the detail about Trump's ties, which the developers skillfully implemented in the game? It seems that Rockstar did the same with the old Asian. The articles I found emphasize that Hideki Yokoi's specialty was the bow tie he preferred to wear. Now just compare it to the old man from GTA 3. With all this, it is easy to notice that there are quite a few differences in the missions of Love and the Asian man from the real story that I told you about. This can be explained by the fact that initially, when Donald Love was not yet present in the game's script, the missions with the Asian man were intended for Japanese mafia. This can be found out from the old design document of the game on the GTA series videos YouTube channel. I believe that at a later stage of the game's development, when Donald already appeared in the script, the old Oriental man was associated with this character, putting it forward as a reference to the real story from Trump's life. Now let's move on to GTA 5. There, in Los Santos, there is a Walk of Fame, parodying the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Many of the memorial plaques have the names of celebrities from the GTA world on them. One of these stars is dedicated to Donald Love, and as you can see, he received it for his achievements in the section of television. We don't know any details about this in the GTA world, but from Trump's history we can learn that he was the owner of the Miss Universe contest for a long time, and as the producer of this event, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2007. As you can see, even in GTA 5, Rockstar has maintained the tradition of parodying Trump. Gradually finishing the topic of this video, it must be said that Donald Love is not only individual details referring to Trump, but also an exaggerated image showing a tenacious, unprincipled, impudent, arrogant person greedy for power and money. This is a cold-blooded business shark, ready to go to his goal over heads, having contacted the criminal world, neglecting the laws, and crushing everything that his hands can reach. This is how Love is presented, especially if you look at some of the promotional materials. And this is exactly how Trump seems if you delve into his rich history. The writers saw in this man the incarnations that fit well into the satirical criminal world of GTA. And finally, I will say one funny thing. In 2018, Dan Houser, co-founder of Rockstar Games and former GTA writer, said that he was grateful that the new GTA game would not be released during Trump's presidency. And of course, he clearly did not expect that in 2024, this billionaire would win the presidential elections again, and the development of the new game would be delayed so much. So if GTA 6 really does appear in late 2025, or even a little later, and Trump is still the president of the United States, then it will look pretty ironic. And by the way, I will not be surprised if we can find new references to Trump in GTA 6. What do you think? Share your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more GTA content. See you soon.